I left home at 18 with nothing but $2,000 in my pocket and a dream to build something that was all mine. For 12 years, I poured everything into creating a successful tech company that now employs hundreds of people. I never looked back, never reached out to the family that always made it clear my brother Andrew was their golden child. Then last month, I discovered Andrew hired a private investigator to track me down. Not because they missed me, but because they found out I was wealthy. Let me know where you are watching from and hit that subscribe button if you have ever had to deal with family members who only want you when you have something they need. Growing up in a middle-class suburb of Boston, my childhood home looked picture-perfect from the outside. My father, James, worked as a high school principal, commanding respect everywhere he went. My mother, Diana, was a nurse at the local hospital, known for her compassionate care. And then there was my brother Andrew, 3 years older than me, and the undisputed star of our family constellation. Andrew was everything parents seemed to dream of having in a son. Captain of the football team, straight-A student, and blessed with the kind of natural charisma that drew people to him like moths to a flame. I was different, quieter, more interested in how things worked than in scoring touchdowns. From my earliest memories, I could feel the imbalance in our home, the way my parents' eyes would light up when Andrew entered a room while merely acknowledging my presence. The summer before Andrew started high school, my parents took him shopping for an entirely new wardrobe, spending nearly $1,000 to make sure he made the right impression. When my turn came 3 years later, I got a handful of hand-me-downs and 2 new shirts from the clearance rack. "You spend all your time on that computer anyway, Harvey," my father said when I pointed out the disparity. "No one cares what you wear." When Andrew graduated high school with honors, my parents gifted him a brand new Ford Mustang, gleaming red in the summer Sunday. They threw him a massive graduation party, inviting what felt like the entire town to celebrate. 3 years later, when I graduated second in my class, I received a used laptop that my father got from a school auction. My graduation party was dinner at Olive Garden, with my parents and brother, who spent most of the meal talking about his college football prospects. The pattern continued relentlessly. My parents never missed a single one of Andrew's games. They would reschedule anything and everything to sit in the stands and cheer as he scored touchdowns or hit home runs. Meanwhile, when I qualified for the state science competition with my computer programming project, my mother told me they would try to make it. They did not. My father had an important meeting, and my mother decided she needed to support him. I took the bus home alone with my second-place trophy that no one ever asked to see. Family vacations were always planned around Andrew's schedule and interests. If Andrew wanted to go to a beach resort, that was where we went. If Andrew had football camp, vacation was scheduled around it. My interests in tech conferences or coding camps were dismissed as too nerdy and not real family activities. Holiday gatherings were particularly painful. Relatives would fawn over Andrew, asking detailed questions about his latest achievements, while I sat quietly at the kids' table long past the age when I should have moved up. "Andrew is going to go far," they would say within my earshot. "That boy is destined for greatness." No one asked about my achievements or my dreams. I became a ghost in my own home, visible yet unseen. It was during these years of invisibility that my passion for computer programming flourished in isolation. While my family gathered in the living room to watch Andrew's game videos for the 100th time, I would be in my bedroom teaching myself programming languages, building simple applications, and dreaming of creating something revolutionary. The digital world became my refuge, a place where merit mattered more than charisma or athletic prowess. In my junior year, I entered a regional coding competition without telling my family. I worked on my project for months, staying up late after finishing homework, perfecting every line of code. When I won first place, I called home excitedly, only to have my mother answer and say, "That is nice, Harvey, but can I call you back? We are at Andrew's college visit, and he is about to meet with the football coach." She never called back. By 16, I had started a small website design business, creating sites for local shops and restaurants for modest fees. Every dollar I earned went into a savings account I had opened with the help of my computer science teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, the one adult who seemed to see potential in me. "You have a gift, Harvey," he told me once. "Do not let anyone convince you otherwise." The final breaking point came when I turned 18. Against all odds, I had been accepted into a prestigious tech program at a university in California. The program offered me a partial scholarship covering about half of the tuition. I needed help with the rest, plus living expenses. With hope in my heart, I approached my parents with my acceptance letter. "That is great, son," my father said without looking up from his newspaper. "But we cannot help you financially. College is expensive, and we have already committed to covering Andrew's graduate school." I stood there stunned into silence. Andrew had already received a full ride for his undergraduate degree due to football, and my parents had paid nothing. Yet they were planning to fund his graduate business degree entirely. "But you paid nothing for his first degree," I argued, "and I have a partial scholarship. I am only asking for help with the difference." My father finally looked up, irritation clear on his face. "Harvey, this tech stuff is a hobby, not a career. Andrew is pursuing a real profession in business. Our investment in him is just that, an investment in a sure thing." My mother has always stood silently by not contradicting my father but offering a week. "Maybe you should look at community colleges, honey." That night, I made a decision that would alter the course of my life. I packed 2 bags with my essential belongings, withdrew my $2,000 in savings, and left a brief note saying not to look for me. By morning, I was on a bus heading west, determined to build a life where I would never again need to beg for scraps of attention or support. The first 2 years on my own were brutal. I arrived in San Francisco with my 2 bags, my savings, and a determination that burned hotter than any fear. I found the cheapest apartment I could, a tiny studio, in a questionable neighborhood that I shared with 3 other guys. We sectioned off the small space with curtains hung from the ceiling, each of us claiming a corner that barely fit a mattress on the floor. While enrolled at a community college taking computer science courses, I worked 3 jobs to keep myself afloat. Mornings at a coffee shop starting at 5 a.m. Afternoons doing data entry for a small marketing firm, and evenings waiting tables at a 24-hour diner. Between shifts, I attended classes, and after midnight, I would collapse on my mattress with my laptop coding until exhaustion took over. Sleep became a luxury I could seldom afford. 4 hours a night was my average, sometimes less. My roommates thought I was crazy coding in that tiny corner by the glow of my laptop screen when I could have been sleeping. "What are you even working on that is so important?" one of them asked me once. "My future," I replied without looking up. My first app was a simple tool to help local businesses manage their social media accounts more efficiently. It was nothing revolutionary, but it worked well, and I managed to sell it to a few small businesses for a modest fee. The income was not enough to quit any of my jobs, but it was validation that my skills had real-world value. The turning point came during my second year when I took a web development class taught by a former Silicon Valley executive named Tyler Wells. Tyler had built and sold 2 tech companies before deciding to teach the next generation. Something about my work caught his attention. "You have a natural intuition for user experience," he told me after class one day. "Your code is clean, efficient, and you solve problems in ways I have never seen before." Under Tyler's mentorship, I refined my skills and expanded my vision. He introduced me to potential clients, and more importantly, to people who believed in what technology could do. For the first time in my life, I was surrounded by people who did not see my passion for computers as a weird hobby, but as a valuable skill set. Through Tyler, I met Samantha Chen, a brilliant graphic designer, and Jackson Williams, a marketing strategist, with an uncanny ability to predict market trends. The 3 of us clicked immediately, each bringing complementary skills to the table. Over late-night pizza and endless cups of coffee, we hatched plans for a startup that would change how small businesses approach digital marketing. Starting a company with almost no capital was a monumental challenge. We worked out of Jackson's slightly larger apartment, using a wobbly card table as our shared desk. We pitched our concept to investor after investor, receiving rejection after rejection. "Your idea is solid," they would say, "but you lack experience and funding. Come back when you have a proven track record." Rather than getting discouraged, we decided to bootstrap. We each kept our day jobs and dedicated every spare hour to building our platform. I coded until my eyes burned. Samantha designed until her hand cramped, and Jackson cold-called potential clients until his voice grew hoarse. Our breakthrough finally came when a local restaurant chain agreed to try our digital marketing solution. Their online engagement increased by 300% in the first month, and their revenue jumped by 20% in the second. They referred us to other businesses, and slowly, client by client, our reputation grew. 1 year into our venture, we landed our first major contract with a regional retail chain looking to revamp their entire digital presence. The contract was worth enough for all three of us to quit our day jobs and focus solely on our company. We moved into a real office, a small space above a bodega, but it was ours, and it represented a massive step forward. As our client list grew, so did our team. We hired our first employee, then our fifth, then our 15th. By our third year, we had developed a proprietary software solution that caught the attention of larger firms in the industry. Suddenly, the investors who had once shown us the door were calling eager to get a piece of what we had built. A major tech conglomerate offered to acquire us for $8 million. It was the kind of money that would have seemed unfathomable to me just a few years earlier. The three of us met to discuss the offer sitting on the roof of our office building, looking out at the San Francisco skyline. "We should take it," Jackson said. "8 million split 3 ways is life-changing money." Samantha nodded in agreement, but something held me back. "This is just the beginning," I said. "What we have built is worth more than money. It is freedom. It is validation. And I think we are just scratching the surface of what we can accomplish." Against conventional wisdom, we declined the offer and doubled down on expanding our company. It was the riskiest decision we had ever made, but also the most rewarding. Within 2 years, our valuation had quadrupled. We expanded nationally, then internationally, growing our team to over 50 employees. Throughout this period of professional growth, I was also experiencing profound personal transformation. The friends I made became the family I chose. Weekend barbecues, holiday celebrations, late-night heart-to-hearts, these people filled the emotional spaces that had been vacant for so long. I also began seeing a therapist, initially reluctant but eventually grateful for the guidance in processing the wounds of my childhood. "Success is the best revenge," Harvey, my therapist, told me, "but healing is the best success." Those words became a mantra as I worked through the lingering pain of familial rejection. As our company flourished, I occasionally would search for my family online, a habit I was not proud of but could not seem to break. Andrew had indeed gone into business as planned, taking over a car dealership franchise that my father had connections to. His social media presented the picture of success, business awards, and community recognition, though nothing on the scale of what I had built. My parents appeared in some photos looking older but essentially the same. I never reached out. The wall between us was one they had built brick by brick throughout my childhood, and I had no interest in tearing it down. I found peace in the knowledge that I had created my own path without their approval or support. My company was now valued in the hundreds of millions, privately owned and operated according to my vision. I had proven my father wrong in the most definitive way possible, but somewhere along the way, proving him wrong had ceased to matter as much as proving to myself what I was capable of. The first sign that something was amiss came in the form of an email that slipped past our company filters. Seeking information regarding the ownership structure of Sullivan Tech Solutions, it read using my surname that I had not publicized in connection with the company. The email came from an account with a generic name, but something about it raised the hairs on the back of my neck. I forwarded it to our security team and thought little more about it until a few weeks later when I attended an industry conference in Chicago. Throughout the day, I had the distinct feeling of being watched. During my presentation on emerging tech trends, I noticed a man in the back of the room who seemed more interested in photographing me than in taking notes on the content. That same evening, I received 3 connection requests on my private social media accounts from people I did not know. The profiles appeared legitimate at first glance, but something felt off about them. Each had been created within the past month and had minimal activity. Our company had dealt with corporate espionage attempts before, so I immediately alerted our security team. Lindsay, our head of cybersecurity and one of my closest friends, took the lead on investigating. She had previously worked for the FBI's cyber division and brought a level of expertise that proved invaluable. After a week of digging, she called me into her office, her expression grave. "Harvey, this is not corporate espionage," she said, sliding a folder across her desk. "These activities all trace back to a private investigation firm based in Boston. Someone is gathering information on you personally, not just the company. My stomach dropped. Boston. The connection was impossible to ignore. Using her contacts, Lindsay managed to discover that the investigation had been commissioned by none other than my brother Andrew. The PI firm had compiled an extensive dossier on my life, my company, and most importantly, my financial status. They had photographs of my home, my office, even my favorite coffee shop. They had estimates of my net worth, details of my investment portfolio, and information about my closest associates. "Why would your brother need this information?" Lindsay asked, her concern evident. I had no answer then, but I would soon find out. 2 days later, my phone rang with a number I had not seen in 12 years, but instantly recognized. My father's number. For several seconds, I stared at the screen, frozen in disbelief. Part of me wanted to ignore it to maintain the clean break I had made all those years ago, but curiosity won out. "Hello," I answered, keeping my voice neutral. There was a pause, then my father's voice, older but unmistakable. "Harvey, is that really you, son?" The conversation that followed was surreal. My father spoke as if we had been separated by circumstance rather than choice, as if I had been away on some extended trip rather than cut out of the family by his own actions. He made no mention of the past, no acknowledgement of the pain that had driven me away, just awkward small talk about the weather in Boston and vague comments about too much time having passed. "Your mother would love to hear your voice," he said, and before I could object, I heard shuffling as the phone changed hands. "Harvey, my baby," my mother said, her voice thick with tears. "We have missed you so much. We always cared, always wondered where you were." The words rang hollow. 12 years of silence is a deliberate choice, not an oversight. If they had always cared, they had a strange way of showing it. I kept my responses brief, non-committal, waiting to understand the real purpose of this sudden reconnection. It did not take long to get my answer. Within minutes, my father was back on the line, clearing his throat in that way he always did before making a pronouncement. "Son, we would love to see you. Your brother tells me you are in San Francisco now. We could fly out next week." No request for my input, no asking if I wanted to see them, just an announcement of their plans. Some things never change. I agreed more out of shock than desire, and gave them the address of my company rather than my home. Whatever this reunion was about, I wanted it to happen on my territory, but not in my personal space. The week that followed was a roller coaster of emotions. I vacillated between anxiety, anger, curiosity, and a small, persistent hope that perhaps they had genuinely changed. My friends rallied around me, offering advice and support. Jackson offered to be present at the meeting as backup, while Samantha suggested having security on standby. I appreciated their concern, but decided this was something I needed to handle alone. The day of their visit arrived, and I instructed our reception desk to send them directly to my office when they arrived. At precisely 2 p.m., my office door opened, and there they stood, the three people who had once been my entire world. My father had aged considerably, his once commanding presence diminished by stooped shoulders and thinning hair. My mother looked smaller, somehow frailer than I remembered, though her eyes still held that same passive acceptance I had grown up with. And Andrew, my golden child brother, looked nothing like the athlete he had once been. His face was puffy, his designer suit straining at the buttons, and his expression held a hostility that made no attempt to disguise itself. "Harvey," my father said, stepping forward with his hand extended. I shook it briefly, then gestured to the seating area in my office. My mother moved to hug me, but something in my stance made her reconsider. She sat beside my father on the sofa, while Andrew remained standing, scanning my office with undisguised assessment. "Nice place you have here," he said, his tone making it clear this was not a compliment, but an accusation. "Very nice indeed. You have done well for yourself." "Thank you," I replied simply. "What brings you all to San Francisco?" My mother launched into an emotional monologue about missing me, wondering about me for years, and their joy at discovering I was alive and well. My father nodded along occasionally, adding comments about water under the bridge and family being family. Andrew continued his silent assessment of my office, paying particular attention to the industry awards displayed on my credenza. After 20 minutes of this superficial reconnection attempt, with no acknowledgement of our estrangement or its causes, I decided to cut to the chase. How did you find me? And why now, after 12 years? The question hung in the air, creating a tension so thick it was almost visible. My parents exchanged glances, and my father cleared his throat again. Well, son Andrew has been having some business challenges lately. The economy in our area has been tough, and his dealership has faced some setbacks. When he learned about your success in the tech industry, we thought perhaps you might be interested in helping family. There it was. Not we missed you or we were wrong, but we heard you have money and we want some. Andrew finally joined the conversation, dropping all pretense. The private investigator was my idea. Dad thought we should hire a professional to make sure it was really you before we reached out. We were surprised to discover just how successful you had become while hiding from your family. Hiding, I repeated, incredulous. I was not hiding. I was living my life, the one you made clear had no value or support in our family. That is ancient history, my father waved dismissively. What matters is that we are here now, and family should support each other. Andrew needs an investor for his expansion plans, and who better than his own brother? My mother nodded eagerly. It would be such a wonderful way to bring the family back together, Harvey. Andrew needs about $2 million to save the dealership and expand to a second location. We know that is probably a small amount for someone as successful as you. I looked from one face to another, searching for any sign of awareness of the absurdity of their request. There was none. In their minds, this was perfectly reasonable. Their golden child needed money. I had money. Therefore, I should give it to him. The fact that they had discarded me without a second thought for 12 years was irrelevant. Andrew stepped forward, pulling a business proposal from his briefcase. I have all the projections here. The return on investment would be substantial, and you would have the satisfaction of helping preserve the family business. I did not take the offered document. Instead, I stood up slowly, the clarity of the moment crystallizing my thoughts and emotions into perfect focus. I will not be investing in your business. I said, my voice calm and steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. Andrew's face contorted with anger. You always were selfish, Harvey. Some things never change. My father stood up, adopting the authoritative posture that had intimidated me as a child. Son, this is your family asking for help. After all we did for you growing up, you owe us at least this much. That was when something broke inside me. Not in a destructive way, but in the way a dam breaks to release pent-up waters. 12 years of unspoken truths came flooding out. What exactly did you do for me, Dad? Was it when you called my passion a hobby, or when you funded Andrew's education but told me to figure it out myself? Or perhaps it was all those science competitions you never bothered to attend. My mother began to cry, soft, theatrical sobs that once would have made me feel guilty. We always loved you, Harvey. We did our best. Your best was saving all your support, encouragement, and resources for your favorite son, I replied. And now that he has failed, despite all those advantages, you track me down through a private investigator to bail him out. That is not love. That is opportunism. Andrew stepped forward, his face red with rage. You ungrateful little shit. You think you are better than us because you got lucky in the tech industry. Some of us stayed and took care of our parents while you ran away. I did not run away, Andrew. I was pushed out, and I did not get lucky. I worked 80-hour weeks for years. I lived in an apartment with 3 roommates and worked 3 jobs while building my company. There was no family money supporting me, no safety net if I failed. My father attempted to regain control of the situation. Now let us all calm down. Harvey, no one is denying you have worked hard. We are proud of what you have accomplished. We just thought that now that you have done well, you might want to help your brother through a rough patch. The condescension in his tone was so familiar, it almost made me laugh. Even now, with me sitting in my corner office of the company I had built from nothing, he was speaking to me as if I were a child who needed guidance on the right thing to do. I think this meeting is over, I said, pressing the intercom on my desk. Security will escort you out. Security, my mother looked shocked. Harvey, we are your family. Family is not determined by blood, I replied. It is built through respect, support, and love, none of which I have received from any of you. The people who work in this building, my friends who stood by me when I had nothing, they are my family. Two security guards appeared at my office door. My father looked at them in disbelief, then back at me. "You cannot be serious." "I am. And one more thing," I added as they gathered their belongings. "You will be receiving a cease and desist letter from my attorneys regarding the private investigation. Any further attempts to gather information about me or my company will result in legal action." Andrew laughed bitterly. "Listen to you with your security guards and legal threats. You think money makes you important?" "No, Andrew. Self-respect makes me important, something I had to learn without any help from my family." As security led them out, I sat down at my desk, my hands shaking slightly, but my mind clear. I had feared this confrontation for years, imagined it going 100 different ways, but now that it had happened, I felt only relief. The ghosts of my past had shown themselves to be merely humans, flawed and predictable. That evening, I called my closest friends and told them what had happened. They came over immediately, bringing food and drinks, creating a circle of genuine support and care around me. As we sat on my terrace overlooking the city, Jackson raised a glass. "To Harvey, who built his own empire and his own family, and who had the courage to stand his ground today." Their approval meant more to me than my biological families ever had. But even so, I experienced waves of doubt in the following days. Had I been too harsh, should I have at least considered helping Andrew? The programming of childhood runs deep, and the need for parental approval can persist long after we think we have outgrown it. My therapist helped me process these feelings during an emergency session. "What you are experiencing is the residue of conditional love," she explained. "You were taught that your value was dependent on your usefulness to others, particularly to your family. By refusing their request, you triggered those old feelings of not being enough." She helped me see that my decision was not about denying help to family, but about maintaining healthy boundaries. True generosity comes from a place of free choice, not obligation or manipulation, she reminded me. In the weeks that followed, I channeled my emotional energy into something constructive. I established a scholarship fund for young tech entrepreneurs from disadvantaged backgrounds, specifically those who, like me, lacked family support. The first round of scholarships went to 5 promising students, each receiving not just financial assistance, but mentorship from me and my team. When the local tech magazine ran a feature on the scholarship program, I received a text message from an unknown number that turned out to be Andrew. "Saw your publicity stunt with the scholarships. Funny how you can help strangers but not your own blood." I did not respond. His perspective was no longer my concern. I had learned that the true measure of a person is not how they treat those they need something from, but how they treat those who can do nothing for them. By that measure, I had grown beyond anything my family could understand. 6 months later, I received a letter from my mother. Unlike the confrontation in my office, her words seemed genuinely reflective. She acknowledged for the first time the favoritism that had defined our family dynamic. She did not ask for money or even forgiveness, just a chance to know the man I had become. I have not decided yet whether to respond. What I know now is that the hunger for approval that drove me for so many years has been replaced by something healthier: self-acceptance. I no longer need my parents to see my worth because I see it clearly myself. The family I have chosen surrounds me with the unconditional support I never had growing up, and the company I built stands as testament to what can be achieved when you refuse to let others define your potential. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who only appeared when they needed something? What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments below. If my story resonated with you, please give this video a like and subscribe to hear more journeys of overcoming family challenges. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to those who doubted you is nothing at all, letting your success speak for itself. Share this with someone who might need to hear that they are enough exactly as they are.